Happy Thursday, everyone. So we're just gonna make a start with our live online session at this time. And as always, I am also recording this session for anyone who wants to join later on and watch it in that format. So this week is our first week when we're really tackling our first exam and first practical test. So we're going to spend a little bit of time orienting ourselves of what to do, what to expect. I've seen some good work already coming in, so thank you for everyone who's already taken a stab at the exam one and practical one. You do have until the end of this week to work on both. But I do want to make sure that I provide this chance to kind of set the expectations a little bit, give you an idea what to anticipate. I think I did a similar job already on the announcements, but like we discussed about different learning styles, I try to provide the information in few different modalities. Please do remember that you also have the discussion forum available for you. There's been some great tips and hints shared regarding how to tackle a preparation for exams or in general of a study. So I really think that that peer support is going to be useful as well. So the plan that I had for today was really to kind of give space and time for that interaction. I do want to also go through in a little more detail about the exam and practical one format. And as always, I try to create that chance and space for us to tackle any questions. In the interest of time, since I do not have as many people present here, I'm just going to jump through that check-in portion. But as always, I am interested to hear what's working well and where can we do even better. So please feel free to share those, whether it is through direct messages to me, whether it is through discussion forum, or whether it's during the office hours. That's definitely something that I do want to hear from you. I do want to know what's good, where can we do even better, and where are we heading. So this week I have a little different organization for the meeting times. I post an announcement of that, but due to conflicting college commitments, I was not able to offer the live online session yesterday on Wednesday. Instead, we're meeting today now at 10 o'clock on Thursday, and I will have another session like I normally have on Fridays as well. I am definitely exploring other times, other days to make them more available for more people. I've mentioned that a few times already in the passing. Unfortunately, I do have a fairly heavy teaching load with other commitments. So when I'm in another classroom, unfortunately, I'm not able to facilitate these sessions. But we'll keep trying and we'll keep testing different times. And remember that it doesn't have to be during the live online session when you get the chance to interact with me directly. I'm always happy to, when you message to me, to find the day and find the time that works for both of our schedules. But we'll keep exploring those. So like I mentioned, this week, only homework that you have is to complete your first exam and complete your first practical. Both of these are due at the end of the week, which I believe is on Sunday on September 29th, if my math serves me correct. So you have all the way till 1 minute before midnight on Sunday to finish this. This means that if you start the exam, for example, at 11:50, that would only give you 9 minutes to complete the exam. So obviously my recommendation would be that you don't leave it to the last minute. The other reason why I recommend that you don't leave this to the last minutes is that I realize that things happen. Things can happen with technology, with internet connectivity, with other things going on in our lives. And I am normally very understanding of that and will try to find you solutions. I'm normally very happy to reset your exam, but that really should happen before the due date. So we've had whole week and we will continue to have the whole week until the Sunday to get these two completed. So if you leave it on the Sunday night to the very last moments, I can't guarantee that I'm going to be up at 11:50 on Sunday night. I do work on Monday mornings, so I want to make sure that you are aware that even though I'm very, very eager to help, there are some limits to that. And one of those is that I ask you to make a start on the exam one and practical one rather earlier than later. If you look at the points that both of these tests carry, exam is worth of 50 points and practical is worth of 25 points. That gives you some idea that these are fairly high stakes assignments. Obviously, I provide you multiple ways of collecting points on this class throughout the semester, but exams and practicals, skipping those really will have a negative impact on your final grade. So I would ask that you try to make sure to complete those. Other thing that we see on this slide is that both exam one and practical one are taken on Canvas. So please make sure that you are familiar where you find them. You'll find them in this week's learning module. In addition to these exam and practical one, which are found on Canvas as quizzes, there is a discussion area, and there's, like I said, some good discussion already going on. I'll be following it also very actively. If there are sudden questions, sudden confusions, I want it to be the quickest place for you to get those answers. But as always, you can message me. You can message me through Canvas messages or through email or pop into the office hours as well that I offer virtually. What else do we see here? Well, we'll see that both exam one and practical one cover 3 chapters. We're covering chapter 1, chapter 6, and chapter 7. So you'll notice that we're skipping a couple of chapters there, and those chapters that we're skipping are those chapters that were dedicated for revision of familiar themes from your prerequisite biology classes. So you have already studied about the cells, tissues, genetics, chemistry of life, themes like that. And because you have already studied those before, you have also been already tested in your prerequisite courses on this material. So I'm not going to test you on something that you have already completed the study and testing on. The reason why we spent some time revising those chapters regardless for this class was to make sure that we're all at the same starting place. Remember, we have some students who have taken those prerequisite classes very recently, but we also have some students for who it might have been a while since they took those classes. So I wanted to make sure that we all share the same language, we share the same understanding of those basic concepts that are going to be crucial for us to excel in our subsequent study of anatomy and physiology. So on that note, those are the 3 chapters that I'm looking for you to be familiar with and ready to address in these exams and practicals. So let's have a look of the exam 1 first, what to expect there. And like I said, it is these 3 chapters. So there's the chapter on introduction to human anatomy and physiology. We talked about a few different themes there. We talked about, for example, how body is organized in systems, and it is those systems that we will use to cover the body over your series of courses on BIO201 and BIO202. We also talked about some of the key themes. We talked about concepts like homeostasis on our chapter 1. So it's going to be a useful theme to be familiar with. And like I shared at that time, a lot of concepts that I will be teaching on these courses are based on the homeostatic feedback mechanism loop. So even though it might seem like a very basic and simple concept, it is used to explain more complicated concepts. So I want to make sure that you're familiar with that. We also spent some time looking at chapter 6, which was all about integumentary system. An integumentary system covered the skin and all the associated structures. So some of the associated structures that we saw in relation to the integumentary system and skin were, for example, our glands. So we talked a lot about oil and sweat glands. And we also talked about the hair, and we talked about the nails. So a bunch of material on that chapter. And then our chapter 7 was kind of like an introduction to the skeletal system. So we talked first a little bit about cartilages. You remember that skeleton starts as a cartilage that then gets ossified and turns into bone. We also talked about the bone tissue on a general level and had a little bit of a discussion about the role of the skeleton on a general level. So those are the 3 chapters that I'm looking for you to complete. And there's going to be a number of questions in exam 1. Those questions, I would really give my students an advice that they are very similar to what you've seen on chapter quizzes. So each week, as you've been completing those chapter quizzes, you've been also preparing for the first exam. So sometimes my students ask me, what should I revise? How can I excel on exam 1? And my biggest answer is that make sure you revise those chapter quizzes that we've been completing on chapters 1, 6, and 7. So you will have 30 minutes to complete this exam. Like I said, the exam is worth 50 points. Once you start the exam, the countdown timer for that exam starts rolling. So as a result, make sure that once you start the exam, you're ready to spend that next 30 minutes of completing it. Even if you left the exam and tried to came back, it doesn't give you another 30 minutes. So it is important that we take the exam when we're ready for it. So it's a single setting exam. This first exam is going to be, since it is time limited, it is a non-proctored, so you are welcome to have your resources on your side. However, I will be fully transparent. You will not have time to look up every answer to every question. My students, most of the students finish the exam with plenty of time to spare. So it is not an exam that you should be stressed about the time limit. Time limit is there so that we make sure that someone doesn't take, for example, 3 days to complete the exam. Time limit is also there to eliminate that proctoring need. So since you do have an access to check few questions that you might be uncertain of from your notes, the time limit is there to make sure that you're not going to be studying the chapters and learning material for the very first time during the exam. So really in preparation, doing those chapter quizzes, but also having those notes organized, knowing where to find an answer is useful. And a little bit to expand on that logic in clinical field where many of you will be heading to, we obviously do not just want to guess what's the right treatment to the patient. If we're uncertain of something, we're going to check it. And that's why it's so important for me that you know what you know, and you know what you don't know, and what you don't know, you know where you will find the answer from. So a lot of the time in clinical practice, people do look up the drug dosages, types of contraindications between drugs. We do not want to take chances on that. So that resembles very much of my approach on this exam, that I do want you to know the most important and key things, and the few little minute details that you might be uncertain, I do want you to be comfortable of looking them up rather than just guessing. So let's have a look at a little bit of an example what you can expect in the exam 1. So there's a range of different kinds of questions. There's a true-false questions, there's multiple choice questions, there's matching questions, there could be fill-in-a-blank questions, and things like that. But again, following closely of what you have already seen in chapter quizzes. This time the exam, however, is taken on Canvas. And I've shown 2 sample questions there for you to kind of give you an idea what to expect. The first sample question that we see at the right bottom corner of the screen is question that asks you to indicate if the following statement is true or false. So you have two answer options and you're going to choose which one of them applies to that statement. And the statement on this example reads that negative feedback negates or reverses a trend. And of course, we do know that that is very much true. We saw negative feedback was what most of the time happened in physiological responses in the body. We tried to bring the change, the trend that's happening back to the kind of set point, back to the acceptable range of values. So negative feedback is maintaining the same. So returning back to that set point. So that statement would be very accurate description of what negative feedback is. So I hope that that helps you to kind of anticipate what could come up in an exam, what type of questions. Let's have a look at the second question example that we see here. Here we're being asked to complete the sentence below by choosing the most correct options, and you will be provided multiple options underneath that, and then you choose which one of them seems that it makes most sense. Many answers might make some sense, but one of the answers makes more sense than all others. It's a little bit like when you start a nursing school and the first exam will ask you that orange is a color, B, a fruit. Both of them are correct, but you need to know the context in which we're asking. Obviously, that's just a joke. You're not going to be asked about orange in nursing school exam as in that format. So the statement that we're being offered here is a statement that says that most anatomical terms can be traced back to, and then there's a blank and another blank. And as we saw on chapter 1, we saw that most anatomical terms can be traced back to Greek language or Latin language. So we see that these words might sometimes sound really weird. Well, they're because the root of those words really isn't from our English language. A lot of my students who speak Spanish often find that a lot of medical terminology and anatomical terminology resembles what they are familiar from the Spanish language. And that is very much true. Greek and Latin, Spanish, they're all from the same family of languages. So there's some connections. So a lot of those terms that originate from Greek or Latin, we have then made more English by some slight edits to the terms, edits to the language that we use. But yes, they very much have a Greek and Latin origin as the words. So that's what to expect in terms of the exam 1. I hope that you feel less worried about it or less stressed about it now that we've had a look of that. At this point, I do want to also introduce you to what to expect from practical 1. So let's spend a little bit of time looking at that. And again, you will see that it's the exact same chapters that we're covering. We're covering chapters 1, 6, and 7. So the introduction to anatomy and physiology, integumentary system, and then the discussion on cartilage and introduction to bone and bone tissue and skeleton. Again, you will have a range of questions that you'll be answering. And again, they're going to be very similar to what you have learned in the past from the practice anatomy assignments each week as you cover material. So again, the best way to prepare for the practical would be by going back to those practice anatomy homeworks from each chapter that you've been completing on a weekly basis. And again, there's going to be a time limit to the practical 1. And again, you will be completing it in a single setting. So once you start the practical 1, I'm asking you to finish it on the same setting. So you will have 30 minutes to complete the practical 1. I strongly encourage you to work through all of the questions. If you have questions that you are uncertain or a little confused, again, you do have the option that you might have some time to look up the most difficult questions if you're uncertain. Again, I want to model that idea where if you are uncertain in medicine, you check. You don't guess in patient care setting. However, at the same time, you will not have enough time to look up every single question for the first time. So I really, 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 again, encourage you to make sure that you are familiar with those practice anatomy quizzes, and you're also familiar how your notes are organized in case you would have to look up something. Well, let's continue a little bit more. And the very last thing that I wanted to do was to kind of wrap up this recording. And again, thank you for being part of this class. I know it's a little nerve-wracking sometimes for students, these settings where you are not quite familiar what to anticipate, but my expectations on this course are very straightforward. I'm very transparent of how I deliver the course and what I expect. So the biggest thing is to make sure that you keep collecting those points, and that's very much the case when it comes to the exam as well. So make sure you don't skip those. They do end up adding up in points, but I'm not here to catch you out. I'm not here to throw you a curveball question. Rather, I'm asking you to make sure that you do your homework, you do your exams, you do your practicals, and you consistently keep building those points towards your final grade. It certainly is my pleasure to be working with you. So as always, don't hesitate to reach out to me how I can help you to do as well as possible on this class. And as always, I am reachable in multiple ways through the Canvas messages, through emails, through office hours, through that discussion forum. And as always, if you have any technical issues, if you have hiccups with the technology, internet, or otherwise, just let me know. We will totally figure those out. Well, I hope you have a very good rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing the great work coming in as usual. Until the next time, bye.